everybody, so I want to show you today how to make handles. So I'm going to attach my handle onto this one, but I'm going to show you how to make handles for really any size thing. So, because like if you're making like a monster mug or just, you know, a smaller cup, you're going to need a smaller handle. And if you're making something like this where it's more like a pitcher shape and it's larger, then you're going to need a larger handle. So the first off is to make sure that you have a chunk of squishy clay. So I'm going to make the monster mug handle first. And if that's all you need, then at the end, stop the video, okay? So you're gonna take your chunk of fresh clay. It can't be clay that you've wadded back up and used again. Like that doesn't work. So you're gonna be kind of squeezing and elongating it into a basic like carrot shape, okay? So I'm just kind of squeezing it into a basic carrot shape. So here we go. So it's a little bit smaller at the top, a little bit bigger, or smaller at the bottom, bigger at the top. We got this. Okay. So now that I have that and it's this basic shape, I'm going to be rolling it on the table and I'm trying to keep that shape. I'm just smoothing it out and making it a little bit longer. And if it starts to bump, that's okay. It just means that you're either pushing too hard or not enough or, you know, whatever. But there's all kinds of different things that you can do. It just means you need to change a little something. But if it does start to do that, you can kind of tilt it up and pat it back down just a little bit so it's a little bit closer to round, and then change what you're doing. Most of the time it's T-Rex arms where you're just like, and it's really small, so try to do bigger rolls. Once you have a smooth carrot shape, and that's a little bit longer, a little bit skinnier, then I'm gonna set it on the table and I'm gonna pat it so it's a little bit flatter, okay? This makes for, and then I'm gonna flip it over, do it again. This makes for a slightly more comfortable handle when you hold it. Usually a slightly wider handle is more comfortable. And it leaves the edges round, which again is more comfortable. The last thing you want to do is go to hold something and have it be like really hard to hold or uncomfortable to hold. So now I have a wide, flat, I'll lean forward, a wider, flatter shape that goes from big at the top and then it tapers down to slightly skinnier at the bottom. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do now is I like to put my elbow up and I'm gonna hold it at the top and then I'm gonna bring my elbow down and see how that adds in this curve. So watch that one more time. So it's hanging, I got my elbow up, I'm gonna bring my elbow down and see how it makes this nice gentle curve right here. That is the perfect curve for a cup, okay, for a handle. So what I'm gonna do now, here, I'll try to do it while I'm holding it up. You don't wanna do the elbow thing multiple times because you'll end up with some cracking up here. If you get a little bit, don't worry. But now I'm going to be trimming at an angle. So see how like, I'm not following, I'm not going this way, I'm going up and down. Because I basically want to make it half a heart. Like I want to make it half a heart shape or like an ear shape. Okay, so I'm going to cut off a chunk at the top and then cut off a chunk at the bottom. So now you can see, let's see. So now you can see it is half a heart, right? And you can see this angle right here because when we add this angle on, you want it to go up against your cup or whatever. Now this one looks a little bit, it's not too bad on here, but it looks a little bit small. Like I think maybe I wanted something a little bit bigger, but I'm gonna save this one just in case. And really all you're gonna have to do is once you have your, you know, mug that you want, like if this was a mug, I can check it. And if it's too big, trim it smaller, right? And if it's too small, make another one. It took what, like a minute, right? So then you're just gonna set it to the side and let it stiffen up for a while. And it's the same thing with a bigger one. So if you're doing a bigger one, it's the same thing as far as you're starting off with a carrot shaped. So you're just gonna kind of taper, make a hideous looking ugly coil that's kind of vaguely carrot shaped. So it's thicker at the top, skinnier at the bottom. Roll it on the table. If it's way bigger, then you might need to use two hands, but you want to keep that taper where it's bigger at the top and then skinnier towards the bottom. And especially if you're doing something larger, you don't want it to get too skinny. And then once you feel like you have a good taper, you're gonna pat it down. So I still leave this side a little chunky. And then once you have it patted down and it's wide and thin, I'm gonna hold it with my elbow way up in the air, and I'm gonna curve it. And then I'm gonna set it on the table and adjust it however it is I want. So I want that heart shape. And then I'm gonna trim it again. And I'm gonna cut it off wherever it seems like it needs to be. And like I said, once you've created it, if you put it on the thing that you're trying to add it onto, let me scoot this over. So if you put it on here and you're like, oh, that looks too small, then make another one. It took like 30 seconds. And if you make it and it's too big, trim it. So like this one right here is the shape and size that I think I'm gonna go for this picture that I was making. So this is still a little bit too wet. If it's floppy like this, you wanna set it back down on the table and let it stiffen up a bit.